Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Marta Swaffer, author of You Are the One You've Been Waiting For. Our work explains but powerful question: how much of who we think we are was actually inherited, from family roles to cultural conditioning to the unconscious stories we absorb early in life. Matter challenges people to examine the programming shaping identity, fear, self worth, and whether much of what we call personality is simply adaptation.
Mhm.
This is a conversation about waking up from autopilot and learning how to live more honestly. Martha, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
All right, so yes, heads up, we're gonna be diving a little bit into your 20s, right? So
Or earlier than that, yes.
all right, okay. So yeah, before writing this book, who were you in your 20s and how did you understand yourself back then?
Who I was in my 20s. I think this was actually a very important time of my life because I left my country when I was 20 years old. And as you know, I speak about programming, about, who we become in order to be loved. Is something that all of us really go through. It's not a question, of if you went through it or not. The question is how much of you is the true self is really given up to take over the programming and roles that we need to play in order to be loved, in order to fit in, to be part of, a family, um, a society. So the programming is very hard to see that is on a level of a culture when you're still living in your country. And what happened to me is I left my country when I was 20, and I was able to really see the differences between my country, which I'm from Poland, and United States. And of course, at that point, I wasn't really thinking, oh, this is how we do it. This is how it's done in United States. It took a lot of living in it to be able to recognize it and to look at it from far away. But I can tell you one of the things that really struck me right now when I was just recently thinking about it, like when I was born, Poland was under communism. And we didn't have a lot of things, the stores were empty. People didn't earn a lot of money. There were no prospects for smart people. And a lot of men drank alcohol. And I am from a small town, and I got to tell you that every man drank a lot, and every little situation was a good excuse to drink. Somebody was sick, let's drink. Let's somebody had a baby, let's drink. Like every single situation was good excuse, and it became invisible because everybody was doing it. And it was so hard even for women because women didn't like it. They were the one that, saw that problem. But their argument was always like, well, do you think everybody is an alcoholic? That cannot be. I am just a normal person. So this is what I really see the programming on a cultural level, how dangerous it is because everybody in your culture is doing it. So you need to really step out of that, which usually means you have to like go somewhere farther to be able to see it very clearly. Um, so I guess that was the beginning for me to go on my own and experience life. Right now I'm in my 40s. So it's been almost 25 years since that, and I've gained perspective, and a lot of things happened.
Right. Wow. While you speak, I've just been thinking, should I leave the country?
Yeah, right. Just taking the moment, I just want to bring this up because, there are
Right.
two ways of programming. We go through a programming that happens on a family level. And that is actually quite easy to spot because
Mm.
family to family is different. So when you grow up, you leave your home and you meet other people that do things a little bit differently. And then you can see the difference and you can see, oh, that wasn't normal.
Mm.
Oh, it's easier for you to see it, but on a cultural level it is harder
Right.
because almost everybody in your community does the same thing, so it's harder to see it. I can give you another example, like for example, for Christmas in Poland, women work so hard. Like 2 weeks
Mm.
before we have Christmas, my mom would start cleaning and cooking, and it's exhausting. It is exhausting. I mean, she has to, buy the presents, organize everything. I'm not saying that
Mm.
my dad didn't help. Of course he did, but
Right.
everything is like on a woman's shoulder. So
Mm.
when time comes for the Christmas day, she is exhausted. And
Right.
nobody questions that because your mother did it, your neighbor does it, your friends do it, and it's just something that you really need to step
Mm.
outside of everybody that you know to be able to see it clearly. So I had the opportunities. And like today, I can tell you that Christmas is very easygoing for us. We don't do everything that my mom did it because I'm just too tired. And for me, it's more important that I am present with my kids and that I'm a happy mama.
Mm.
Because when I'm tired, I get to be cranky.
Right.
And I think, right, for my kids, you need to really start thinking about what is right for you versus what you were taught to be,
Mm.
what you inherited from your parents, from your society. And I'm not saying that everything that we inherit is wrong, but it is what's wrong is to never question it. Listen, if something is a good inherited trait or um, a role, whatever it is, it will stay with you.
Mm.
So you should really challenge everything that doesn't seem right and ask yourself, is it true for me? Or is it something, one of the shoots and have tos that I was required to do and perform in order to belong?
Mm. Wow.
Makes
Okay.
sense,
So,
right?
right. Makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, it
learning,
does.
I'm learning a whole lot from this very short conversation we've had.
Good.
Starting with, I think you're young. When you're young, it's the time for you to, first of all, explore different cultures. Do not just because I kind of understand what you said, right? If you grow up in a place, you're bound to just the culture that you were born in, right? You don't get to
Hmm.
explore other cultures. So
Right.
it's okay if you leave, right? Try check out other cultures. It might just,
Yes.
be that you love what other people do, right? So, and how would you know if you don't try it out? How would you know if you don't check them out? Right. So yes, I learned that one. And then also let's try to understand what we really want for ourselves. Are we doing what we want for ourselves or what society wants for us? Because those are
Can you
two
repeat?
different things.
Yeah, yes. So there is definitely a big difference between doing something for yourself because you know it's true for you and doing something that the society is asking you to do, the roles that you are asked to perform and play. And you feel this discomfort, you feel this tension within yourself. It can be so different for many people, but when you're in a situations that you are required to do something and you just inside you feel this like, no, I don't want to. Like,
Hmm.
okay, so um, let me give you an example. So I gave you the one about Christmas, or
Right.
for example, uh, this inherited role, really, or rule by my house that we do not lay down until everything is clean.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there's so many beliefs and roles and rules that we play we never really think about. And my mom never said, you cannot lay down unless, you clean everything and then you deserve the rest. But I
Right.
watched her. Yes, we as children, we learn through different ways. And one of the ways that we learn is doing as our parents do. Not what
Mm.
our parents say, but repeating, learning by repeating what our parents do. And my mom always allowed herself to rest when the house was spotless. And I was doing the same thing, and I didn't know I was doing this. And thanks goodness to my husband that um, he's pretty clean, but not nearly as what I was used to. And he says, what are you doing? I don't need this spotless house. I need you to be rested. I need you to be happy.
Wow.
Don't waste yourself on running running around cleaning the house, and then you are too tired to be present with us, and then you're cranky, and then you're too exhausted to have fun.
Hmm.
So right now when I feel tired, I allow myself to leave mess, and I said my body is asking to lay down,
Yeah.
and if I'm able, I'm going to take a 30-minute nap, whatever my body needs, and then I return.
Hmm. Wow.
Mhm.
First of all, I must say kudos to your husband, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
He really helped me with that. Yeah.
Right. And these are unconscious programmings, right? We are not even
Yes,
aware that it's a form of programming, but because it's what we've been used to, like we watch our
yes.
parents do it, so we continue from there, right? So, yeah, talking about unconscious programming, you write about it a lot. So, what do you mean
By
by that
unconscious
in,
programming.
practical terms? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's give an example again, because I think that puts a picture in people's head.
Right.
Let's say that your house was not very stable when you were a baby,
Hmm.
and you noticed that your mom has been overwhelmed, and maybe she emotionally withdraws because she has maybe problems she needs to deal with your dad. Maybe the marriage is not great. Maybe there is no money, the communication is poor, and
Hmm.
you notice as a child that she is in distraught all the time. And then when you ask for more, when you have your own needs, like you want attention or you want something, she is dismissive, or she is even more irritated because she's already so tired, and then you asking for more, and then she just can't do it anymore. So as a child, we might learn that asking for stuff that we want is too much. And our father never really talked to us like, you're not enough, don't bother me. Maybe some people do, maybe some people did, but that is not required. A child can read the environment, it can read the energy around parents. And the child doesn't consciously think, oh, I need to do this and this. It is almost like we are born with this system to scan the environment and become whatever is needed in order to belong and be loved. So we adapt as children. So that child might say, I want attention, but I better keep it to myself. Maybe I would not ask for too much because my needs mean that mommy is just overwhelmed. So I'm going to keep it to myself to keep peace, to keep her happy. And it's not something, again, that the child thinks consciously, it's just something that it does. And if that is repeated enough times, that becomes who we are, that becomes our personality. So the person like that might grow up and they bring the same patterns that they just try to be the easy child, the people pleaser. So when they go out in their own, adult life, they might, for example, find a job that they might like, but they will never speak what is really on their mind. They would take more on their plate that they are able to handle, but they are
Mm.
afraid to say no. They are very quickly to agree with everything because they are the easygoing person that they've learned to adapt through their environment. And the same thing happens, in your relationship, not only at work. Maybe they have a partner that they feel like they just go along with everything that the partner wants because that's what they've did as a child. And you know what happens with people like that? Very often over time, they feel like they are being taken advantage of, like they are always the giver, not the receiver. And they might even grow a sense of resentment towards the other person if it's a partner or somebody you work for. And see, it's so easy to complain, this person is always asking me to do too much, or they're taking advantage of me, I didn't really want to do this. But the truth is, this is not problem right now. This is a problem from your childhood because you were the easy child that wanted to please everybody so they would get love, and you carried that until today. So yes, so that becomes very often, it's something that is hard for us to see because that's who we are. And I think relationships are the greatest um, way to expose it. You really need to look at yourself. You need to take time to see what is not working out for you and go to the root of it. And it usually is something that you believe that you need to do or who you need to become in order to be accepted or loved.
Wow. Okay,
Mm.
right. I'm saying, I must
What?
say, I'm right. I'm learning a lot, I must say. I mean, I never thought of it this way, right? Although I know of childhood patterns of which the way the things some of us, the character or the traits some of us exhibit now is as a result of how we were treated or how we grew
Mhm.
up when we were a child, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
I never saw this like I never saw this as a part of what could actually contribute to a child's growth, right? What could be part of a child when that child grows up, right? So I'm
Yeah.
seeing it from this perspective now, and
Yeah. And what
mm,
is very interesting, maybe I add, is that, children, as you know, I did hypnosis, and I did hypnosis for 4 years. So I know a little bit how the brain works. If I hook you up to EEG and see your brain waves on a scan, you will have different brain waves for every day being awake and thinking. I would be able to see on the screen if you're sleeping and if you are um, in relaxed hypnotic mode. I would be able to see that. So children, their brainwave is what we call as a hypnotic state until the age of 7. So, when people come to me to do hypnosis and I know exactly what I need to do, what kind of brainwave, which is called theta, by the way, I need to get them into, that brainwave is what children are almost constantly, which that doesn't mean that in hypnosis, I just want to say that clearly, but that means that their brain is like a sponge. So everything that happens in our childhood, children just, it goes straight to the subconscious.
wow.
Children don't have a filter to understand, like if something is going on with my parents, maybe my mom has some stuff, she's dragging from her childhood that she didn't work herself out, like she has not done the healing. Children don't think like that. Children think something is wrong with me. What can I do to change that? So not only we think this way, that everything that is happening is kind of, our fault, but also everything that happens goes very deeply. That's why all of these things from our childhood we carry through our life, because it is so deeply embedded in us because of the brainwave that we have as children. I hope that made sense. Did that make sense?
Okay. So,
Okay, okay,
it does actually. It makes a whole lot of sense. And
okay.
yes, now we are able to, identify patterns, right, in parenting. So I need to know how can people interrupt circles like that, circles that they don't want to pass on.
I think it's very important that we recognize those patterns. If something is not working out, something feels off, you feel disconnected from yourself, there is some kind of pain, follow that. Ask
Hmm.
questions. And when you recognize the pattern, for example, if someone disappoints you, but you always stay silent because you felt when, as a child, you felt that being quiet was safer for you than speaking up. But so you recognize the pattern,
Hmm.
and then that's only half
Hmm.
of what you need to do, because the truth is that if you want to change, you need to implement that change into your life, not only know it, in your mind, but also live it. So knowing that the next time
Hmm.
someone disappoints you, you recognize it maybe faster. Maybe you don't say anything this time either, but you take a note the way you behaved, what you felt in your body. Maybe you felt tightness in your chest. Maybe your stomach dropped. Maybe you lost your voice. And you need courage, because maybe not the next time, but the time after that, you will have enough courage to maybe say something. Maybe you don't see it, you don't speak it straight to this person, but maybe you write an email explaining how you feel. So, knowing something intellectually
Hmm.
doesn't really make a change. You have to teach your body that it is safe for it this time, because the circumstances have changed. You are not a child anymore. So the healing happens when you allow yourself to be exposed to the things that you're afraid of. But do it in a smart way. Don't overwhelm yourself. Small steps, but just repeat them. Repeat them and teach your nervous system that it is
Hmm.
safe. It is safe for you to speak your truth. And, I do that all the time. I'll do something brave and then I will say, well, see, I didn't die. And that's how safety is built. And that's how real change is built, a small step of living and carrying that into your everyday life.
Right. Okay, say
Okay.
thank you so much for this.
Yeah,
It
you're very
was this
welcome.
right? It's not just about conditioning, right? It's
It,
I think it's about freedom.
oh, yes.
It's
You got it
about
at the heart of it. Yes.
freedom.
It going back to your true self brings you peace, freedom, self-love, self-worth, because the truth is we were born worthy. If you don't feel worthy, it is because you were taught to not to think this way. So we need to go back to
Exactly.
the way kind of we were born, because we were born perfect.
Exactly. Right. So
Yeah.
yes, thank you so much, Marta.
Yeah, you're
This
very
has been
welcome.
amazing.
Thank you so
And
much. Yes,
before
yes.
you go, where can listeners get to learn more about you and everything you do?
Oh, I do have a website, martaswaffer.com. I have YouTube channel. I have Facebook page, but my book is
Mm.
coming back in October. It is called "You Are the One You've Been Waiting For," and I wish we had more time to talk about it, because the way it is written, it's very special because it is tailored for the subconscious. So it's not really by reading it reflects something that you are ready to hear and see within yourself. The book is like a mirror. It
Mm.
really works on a deeper layer of your consciousness, and it really is an amazing trip to read it, because it reads differently than anything that you've ever read before. And
Mm.
yeah, I really encourage everybody to read it. The chapters are very short and they don't over explain. it lands in your body. You would read this book, you will cry. Some things would feel like you've heard it, you knew it, you maybe never heard it before, but this is a knowledge that you've carried in your body. You read it and you know it rings like a bell. And sometimes it sounds like a whisper, but you will read it and you will know it is true, because I wrote it with something greater than my own mind.
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Marta.
You're very welcome. All
All
right.
right, yes,
Bye
take
bye.
care. Bye.
Yeah, bye.